All right. Good evening, everybody. Let's begin. This is March 20th, 2023. It is time for the regular meeting of the Wheeling Village Board to begin. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk Brady, roll call, please.
Trustee Vogel?
Here.
Trustee Papantos?
Present.
Trustee Vito?
Here.
Trustee Lang?
Here.
Trustee Kruger?
Present.
Trustee Rufato?
Here.
President Horker?
Here. Approval of the minutes changes. Any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes this evening.
That brings us to Clerk Brady, citizens' concerns and comments.
Okay. We do have two today. Members of the public may address the board with comments regarding issues relevant to village business. No citizen shall speak for more than 5 minutes without consent of the board. Members of the general public who wish to address the board must sign the request to speak form prior to the commencement of the public meeting. The first person is Gregory Yaman.
Just as a reminder, this is a time for citizens to make their comments, express their concerns, and for the board to listen. Neither
Good evening.
board nor staff will be answering questions. Good evening.
Mr. Village President, Trustee, Mr. Village President, all of you received the email with my proposal to amend current parking code to find proper solution based on code used by our border neighboring towns, Northbrook and Buffalo Grove. I know code was modified in 2018, but with some serious restriction. First, limit how many times per year a person can park RV on driveway. Now it is 4. That means there is limit for number of trips RV owner can have per year. In this case, RV owner limited to only 2 trips, if needed, to park overnight to prepare for trip and unpack after the trip. What if I am planning 4 or more trips? I believe there should be a solution for allowing people to use their time as they wish. Second, my driveway is land covered by real estate tax, and existing code restricts me to use my land. Third, there is so many trucks longer than 22 feet, especially in the winter times, that obstruct sidewalk and nobody cares. Some pictures are submitted to village manager during our email exchange. U.S. Constitution has 27 amendments, and I believe the city code can be adjusted as well. Also, as a side note, it is hard to find parking storage every time after a trip. To keep storage place year-round costs around $2,000. Look like the additional real estate tax. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, sir.
Okay. And copy of my speech I submit to Katie Brent. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir.
We have Jim Lorzell.
Good evening. My name is Jim Lorzell. I'm a resident of Prospect Heights, a pilot and a tenant at the airport. I've attended the airport meetings for over 30 years. In the past airport meetings, I would hear that the airport is over budget on revenue and under budget on expenses. I would hear numbers like 11, 12, 13% for each of those. But what did those percentages really mean? So I checked. To my surprise, in fiscal year 21, there was $1.4 million in unallocated surplus funds. In fiscal year 22, there was $1.5 million, and they are on pace to have $1.6 million in surplus funds at the end of this year. That's $4.5 million in unallocated funds in 3 years. And in the final financial report for fiscal year 22, it stated they had over $8 million in cash or cash equivalents on hand. Yet they continue to raise rents and fees every year. I've met with airport management and staff and addressed the airport board. I have asked that they use the unallocated surplus funds to offset the following year's increases in their budget, as it is allowed in the airport's very own policy. I'm not asking for something that is not in their policy, but they are reluctant to change. Trustee Lang stated at an airport meeting the airport is a publicly owned entity and should be operated as a not-for-profit. I agree with that principle. As I stated in my email to you, there are questions with the budget. As an example, there are two separate expense reserve funds for the same purpose. Eliminating the duplicate fund would free up an additional $1.1 million. If there is a need, the need should be in the budget. All the airport's needs are taken care of in the new budget: expenses, debt service, reserve, and capital funds. The surplus from this year would cover the increased rents and fees for all of the FBOs and tenants on the airport and still have $700,000 remaining. In the intergovernmental agreement, both the village and city have retained final approval for the airport's budgets. I ask you to amend the budget using the surplus funds from this year to offset the increases in the new budget, as is their policy. Again, the airport is a public entity and should be operated as a not-for-profit. If you have any questions or want to discuss any of this, please feel free to contact me. My information was on the email that I sent to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Spondilla, staff reports.
Thank you. At the last village board meeting, we discussed the opportunity of changing the business, liquor, and gaming license schedules to match the calendar and village fiscal years. Upon further reflection, the concept that was proposed as an administrative convenience created enough questions to substantiate the old adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The Village of Wheeling prides itself on providing residents and businesses of the community with the highest levels of service, and we will continue to take every opportunity to appropriately modify and modernize our process. But at this time, the best answer seems to be status quo. As no changes are to occur to the process or to the village code, the item is not appearing on this evening's agenda, nor do we anticipate an appearance on any agenda in the near future. To that end, renewals for all license types have already been distributed as necessary for license year May 1, 2023 through April 30th, 2024.
Nothing changes.
Nothing changes.
Awesome.
But while I have the mic, may I just recognize that today is our comfort dog Olive's second birthday. So she made an appearance this evening. So everyone, please feel comforted.
It doesn't look a day over one.
She really doesn't.
Thank you for bringing her. Clerk Brady. What? Wait.
Officer, can you bring her by on your way out, because I have some dog treats for her birthday? You bet. Pat, I gave you one too for your birthday.
Trustee Kruger was very excited when she heard Olive was going to be here. It's very nice to have her. Now?
I'm good.
No, I'm in.
Oh,
We're good?
I'm all good.
Okay.
Okay.
Trustee Brady?
Ready?
Yeah.
Consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the village board and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless the board members or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered after all other agenda items. 11A, resolution authorizing acceptance of the state of Illinois previous bid contract with Presido Network Solutions for a one-year renewal of a support maintenance contract for Cisco SmartNet technical services in the amount of $63,524.99. 11B, Resolution authorizing a Memorial Day parade from Wyland Road and Illinois Route 83 McHenry Road traveling southeast to Lexington Drive and terminating in Anvet's Post 66. 11C, resolution approving an amended adjournment for police liaison services between the Village of Wheeling and Township Wheeling High School District 214. 11D, resolution authorizing the village manager to execute a memorandum of agreement regarding the provision of school resources officers to Community Consolidation School District 21. 11E, resolution approving a professional service agreement with ACOM Technical Service, Inc. for 2024 through 2025 water main design services in the amount of $148,380 for fiscal year 2023. 11F, resolution approving changes to the village general fund surplus policy. 11G, ordinance amending the Village of Wheeling's annual budget for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2022 and ending December 31st, 2022. 11H, resolution approving the release of certain executive session minutes of the President and Board of Trustees of the Village of Wheeling, Illinois. 11I, resolution approving the recycling of certain executive session audio tapes pursuant to the Illinois Open Meetings Act 5 ILCS 1202.06. That's it.
C.
Oh, C.
A motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Rufato, second trustee Kruger, roll call.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Porter?
Yes.
New business?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, 13A, resolution waiving competitive bidding and directing the village president to execute an amendment to the agreement between the Village of Wheeling and WB Olson, Inc., authorizing a guaranteed maximum price for construction management general contractor services for the construction of Fire Station 42 in an amount not to exceed $7,799,224,000.
$7,699,224. Mr. Spondilis, what do we have here?
Thank you. Although the contractor is in the audience, he might like the extra $100,000.
Sorry about that.
No, all good. This is a very exciting evening for, obviously, the fire department, but also for the Village of Wheeling, as it is the conclusion of a plan that the village board set into motion in 2019 when the board was approached by staff and agreed to a 2 fire station building project. The first being the reconstruction of Fire Station 23, which is open and came in just under budget. And the second was to begin saving for the relocation of Fire Station 42. And that is the project that you see before you and the building that you see on the screen. So in 2019, two major points were agreed upon, and the first was creating that funding mechanism in order to set aside monies to pay for this building, and the second was to create a relationship with a team to design once and build twice. And this is the culmination of that process and exactly what we did. The building you see before you is substantially the same as the one that was constructed at 23. There were some changes that were necessary based on the land. This building will be constructed on village-owned property behind the bank on McHenry Road on the west side of the tracks. And one of the highlights that I want to make sure is clear that this is not a new fire station. This is new construction, but it is the relocation of the existing Station 42, which is currently housed in the police department, the old Village Hall campus. They have been in that building for well over 10 years. That was meant to be a temporary solution. As we all recognized, based on call volume and call location studies, that the village needed to have 2 stations on the west side of the railroad tracks. So again, this is an existing relationship with both the architect and the contractor. All of the trades were publicly bid and brought to you in a package this evening. That is a guaranteed maximum price for, we'll just call it $7.7 million. And one of the other things that I would like to point out is we are currently negotiating an opportunity to relocate some of the, or all of the detention requirements for the building off-site. If we are able to do that, we should save the project nearly $1 million. This is the worst-case scenario that's being presented to you tonight for that $7.7 million. Obviously, Chief McGreal can fill in any blanks that I missed. The president of WB Olson, Dan Polfus, is here and can talk about any specific project details. And the last point I want to make before turning it over to the chief, this is being paid for in cash. There is no bonding, there's no lending, there's no borrowing. We were able to, through savings mechanisms and some federal monies, pay for this building in cash. So I think those are the highlights that I wanted to make. Chief, if you have anything to add.
No, I think you hit all the points. Thank you very much. Thank you, President Horker and the board. I just wanted to reiterate that we will not be, we'll be turning over the police fire station back to the police. So it's not 4 stations. We have 3 stations now. We're going to maintain 3 stations. We're going to relocate those crews. And, you know, it doesn't, we understand this is a lot of money. But I think it's important for everyone to understand also is that we being the elected officials and staff, take spending other people's money very seriously. And I can guarantee you once this is built, this is going to better serve not only the residents, but people who work in Wheeling or people who choose to visit Wheeling for decades and decades. We need better coverage on the northwest quadrant of town. The development, as you see across the street, has increased traffic tremendously for us to get to that portion of town, and there's only going to be more development in that area. So once again, thank you, and any questions I'm happy to answer.
Trustee Papantos, you had a question?
I just wanted to reiterate what Manager Sfondelis said, that this is a cash project. We are not taking debt, and not too many of the neighboring municipalities can make that claim. We knew this was coming, we saved, and we made sure that we weren't putting the village at a point where it was going to cost even more. And I also like to point out that this is higher than the last station, Station 23. However, the detention is a major portion of that. And there's also a driveway that's probably 3 times longer of concrete going in, at least?
At least 3 times longer.
Or more?
Or a lot.
And that is a big hunk of money to put that in because the station will be located farther back. But congratulations, I think it's long overdue. You're a little cramped over there.
Thank you.
I also look forward to it going up. It's been, you guys have been in there far too long. Not that the police would probably not allow you to be there longer, but yeah, you need your own house. And the traffic is bad, but the tracks can't help either.
Right.
I mean, there's nothing over there.
And it's only going to get worse with mergers and other things going on.
Yes, I was thinking that the other night when I was listening to the radio. If there are no other comments, we would need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Trustee Kruger, second.
Second.
Trustee Rufato, roll call, please.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes.
13B, public hearing regarding request for Cook County Class 6B property tax abatement for the property at 25 West Waltz Drive Applicant is 25 West Waltz LLC.
All right, everybody. This is a public hearing for the public to make comments regarding the request for a 6B real estate tax assessment for 25 West Waltz Drive. A public hearing notice was published in the Daily Herald. Each member of the public shall have 5 minutes to make their comments. During this time, staff and the board will not answer questions. Comments should not be repetitive or argumentative. Are there any comments from the public? There are no comments or concerns from the public. Once, twice, sold. I would like a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion,
Second.
trustee Vogel, second, trustee Papantos. Roll call, please.
Trustee Lang,
Yes.
trustee Kruger,
Yes.
trustee Rufato,
Yes.
trustee Vogel,
Yes.
trustee Papantos.
Yes.
Trustee Vito,
Yes.
President Horker.
Yes. C.
13C, resolution consenting to a Cook County Class 6B real estate tax, wait a second.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
tax abatement, wait,
Assessment.
thank you, I got lost. Tax assessment classification for the property located at 25 West Waltz Drive in Village of Wheeling, Illinois.
Thank you. Mr. Clicker.
Yes, before you have a request for a 6B tax abatement for 25 West Waltz. It's an approximately 11,655 square foot, one-story industrial building that sits on about an acre of land. It's been vacant a short period of time, but it was vacated by Keystone Auto in November of 2022. The contract purchaser, 25 West Waltz LLC, plans to bring in Karamaya, an HVAC contractor who is currently located in Prospect Heights, but they are growing exponentially, and they will bring their 17 full-time employees over to this facility, and they do plan on hiring 6 to 10 new employees once they get into the facility. Additionally, they have annual sales of about $4 million, of which half are to residential, which means that those sales would be sales tax eligible. Great reuse of the building, and the applicant is here if there are any questions.
Trustee Papantos?
Can the applicant,
It's quick and painless. Won't
it's always quick and painless.
Maybe.
Good evening, Mayor.
Please say your name and
I'm the attorney, Brian Liston, and Carolina here is the owner of the business.
Caroline.
Carolina, that's me, Carolina Felinchuk.
There we go.
I'm representing my father tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Very quick, first of all, welcome to Wheeling. Thrilled to have you here, especially as a tax revenue generating business. The rehab that you're doing seems to be pretty straightforward, so when do you think you'll be able to move in? It looks to me like this isn't going to take a lot of time for materials.
We want to move in as soon as we can, so we're going to close on the deal, and once we're closed, we're going to be moving in and getting everything done as soon as we can.
Great,
Couple months, maybe, as soon as possible. We need the space.
great. And congratulations on the
Thank you
growth.
so much.
Thank you.
She's really the boss, so looks.
Somebody has to be, right?
Right, that's why I'm here.
If there are no other questions, there are some conditions. Mr. Spondilis, you want to read those, please?
Sure. There are 5 in total. First, the applicant shall obtain all necessary building and/or construction-related permits from the village for the construction of the proposed development. The subject property shall be reoccupied, operated, and maintained at all times in compliance with the applicable codes and ordinances of the village. All work performed on the proposed development must be conducted in a good and workmanlike manner with due dispatch and within any deadlines provided pursuant to this agreement or set forth in the village code. The total construction value for permits issued for the proposed improvements shall be no less than $40,000. And finally, the project shall be completed by January 31st, 2025. Upon completion of the proposed development, the applicant will request that the village inspect and approve the proposed improvements to confirm that the proposed development has been constructed in compliance with the plans approved by the village.
I need a motion to approve with the conditions outlined.
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Vogel, second trustee Lang. Roll call, please.
Trustee Kruger,
Yes.
trustee Rufato, trustee
Yeah.
Vogel,
Yes.
trustee Papantos.
Yes.
Trustee Vito,
Yes.
Trustee Lang,
Yes.
President Horker.
Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, Mr. Clicker and I have worked together for 2.5 decades, and he always never ceases to amaze me.
For $40,000 worth of...
I knew you were older, Ross, but boy.
That also could be interpreted in two different ways.
What's up next, Ms. Brady?
13D, discussion regarding planned unit development concept review, gas and wash at 1750 to 1794 and 1798 East Hintz Road.
What?
Right?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Swandelis?
Thank you. For the public's information, this is a concept review, which is a formalized process where a development can come before the village board at the beginning of their design phase to talk about their concept and seek some guidance from the board. I'm going to read a paragraph just so that it is in record and so the developer understands exactly what this is and what this isn't. As soon as I am done, I will turn it over to Community Development Director Ross Clicker, where he will give a project overview and introduce the petitioner. The petitioner can then come up, give their presentation, and the board can ask any questions. At the end of the presentation, there will be a yes or a no consensus question asked of the board. That question is the board in favor of the planned unit development concept for gas and wash? That will be the question asked of the board at the end of the presentation. The current request is for a non-binding approval of the proposed plan unit development. The feedback by the board will be used by the development team as a guide in the preparation of the formal development plan. The outcome of this evening shall not constitute a formal approval or denial of the application. The decision by the board tonight is non-binding and shall not prevent the applicant from moving forward with a formal application. Director Clicker.
Yes, before you have a concept proposal for a redevelopment of the 4.14 acres of land at the northwest corner of Old Buffalo Grove Road and Hintz Road. The subject site was formerly occupied by the Garden Fresh grocery store and a multi-tenant retail strip center, and is also currently the location of the Tahoe Automotive Center. The proposed plan unit development would consist of a new fuel center, which would be one unit in the multi-tenant redevelopment that will happen. So you will have the a fuel center, which will include both unleaded and diesel, with full convenience store, attached retail tenant spaces for 2 drive-through restaurants and a packaged liquor store, and again, as I said, and also a freestanding car wash would also be part of the development as well. With that, Mr. Leonard McInerney from Gas and Wash is here and can answer any questions.
Hello.
Thank you and good evening. I'm not Leonard McHenry. My name is Lyman Team and I'm the attorney for Len McHenry, and Len is the owner of Gas and Wash. Mr. McHenry is proposing a development as indicated at the northeast corner of Old Buffalo Grove Road and Hintz Road, which would be a motor fueling facility to be owned and operated by Gas and Wash. This would include a convenience store, car wash as indicated, food service with drive-up food service window, packaged liquor facility as a separate part of the building. And we've been looking at this for quite some time. We've met with staff. We are currently under contract with the owners of the property, and we would like to proceed as quickly as possible. With that, we do have a development team, and there's a couple of people I'd like to introduce. The main presentation is going to be made by Chris Kalachevsky of WT Group, and Chris is in the audience here. I'll have him come up in just a moment. Also with him is Brian Hertz from MG2A, who is our civil engineer on the project, and Kevin McHenry, who is representing Gas and Wash. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Chris, and I believe he has some slides to show you, and if you have any questions, we'll be more than happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Again, this is Christian Kulishevsky from WT Group. We're the architects for the project and land planners. We also have in the audience Mr. Brian Liston as well in terms of looking at going to do like a 7B or that type of situation. So any questions in that line could be directed towards him. Next slide, please. Or if there's a button. Basically, you can see our location or site is right in this area here. Sorry, getting used to the mouse. You can see the distance from the highway. Next slide, please. This was a kind of a former island. It was a former use of commercial retail space with a gas station, and we're asking to really turn it into something very similar. What we'd like to do is actually expand the gas station use while incorporating some of the former uses that were in the buildings previous, such as grocery, such as convenience items, as well as quick serve restaurants, 2 of those. The next slide, please, is the actual site plan, and Brian is going to walk us through the layout of the site, and then I'll return with some more additional details.
Thank you. Again, I'm Brian Hertz from MG2A, the civil engineer. So what we have here is that it's about 4 acres of property that Chris was referring to. When we design these sites, you know, the convenience store is the center building that's shown. On the convenience store, we do have 2 drive-through food vendors. So we have a drive-through on the west side of the convenience store. You can see there's a lane that people would drive into, and then they would drive north, kind of wrap around, make a right turn, and then turn back south to drive up along the west side of the store. Then on the east side of the building, there's another driveway lane that people would be able to drive into, and then continue north, and then drive west, and then swing down and parallel the north side of the store there to a service window. We also have 7 automobile fueling islands up in the front. Those are lined up east to west. There would be sufficient space there for 1 single row of cars to pull up next to the pump. You know, it's not double stacking or anything like that there. So each space has its own island. The T-shaped portion that you can see connecting the automobile fueling islands to the C-store is another piece of overhead canopy. So that makes one continuous covered canopy over the fueling islands, and then it connects to the convenience store entry. There's also, we have 2 commercial fueling lane positions over to the east side of the convenience store. Those would service diesel vehicles, trucks, diesel vehicles, pulling trailers, larger vehicles that are, you know, we want to keep separate from the automobile fueling islands just for, you know, site maneuverability. It's more convenient for those customers to be able to use those fueling positions that are separated from the automobiles. We also have you know, several parking spaces on the front of the C-store. We have parking areas off to the west side of the west drive-through. We also have some parking area on the north side of the north drive-through. And then working my way north, we have a tunnel-style car wash building. So in that car wash, it's a conveyor type system. So the car wash customer would drive up to the building, and then the attendant would direct them to the right location so that their wheel would hit the conveyor. And then, they would put the car in neutral and the conveyor pulls the car through this tunnel-style car wash building, which does have, and Chris will discuss a little bit more about that, it has separate, wash bay and dry bay, and he can elaborate on that. So once the car's washed and complete, it would exit the east side or actually the west side, it would exit the west side of the building. When cars are entering the car wash area, I skipped the pay stations. So there's 3 pay station lanes on the kind of the southerly side of the car wash building there. Each lane would have a pay, like a kiosk, where the customer would select the level of wash that they would want to have done, and then continue on. So they would be driving east as they would, make payment, and then there would be gates there, and the gate would raise once they've made their transaction, and then they would drive to the east and then turn to the left, heading north, and then turn back to the west into the car wash building. And on the exit, you can see where there's a driveway. The cars would exit the driveway heading west, turn back south. Then there is a row of free vacuums. So there's about, I think there's about 16 or so vacuum spaces on the south side of the car wash building there, where they would be able to vacuum out their car either before or after they wash. Just a little bit about drainage on this site. The site's very flat. I don't know if anybody's drove by and looked, but it's probably mostly drained by existing storm sewers at this point. We would be planning to do underground detention storage to provide stormwater management on the site. Those would tie into existing storm sewers and discharge to those existing storm sewers at a restricted release rate. That's kind of it in a nutshell. I mean, I'm showing 2 access points on Old Buffalo Grove Road, which is a Cook County DOT jurisdictional road, and Hintz Road is also Cook County DOT, so we would have to go through them for access points and access changes to the site. Actually, the Hintz Road site, it's got a couple of access points now, and we'd be removing one of those that exists closer to Old Buffalo Grove Road and provide one access at the east side. If anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to answer those.
Trustee Papentos.
Thank you. Are you done with the whole presentation, or did you want to finish first? Why don't you finish first? Sorry.
As Brian was describing, we're really looking to really augment some of the existing services that were there once upon a time. We really want to provide a neighborhood-type center here. All the materials that are used are very high-quality, full masonry-bearing buildings. And just in terms of some of the site plan things that Brian highlighted, I'd like to just touch on again. Per your ordinance, the maximum lot coverage allowed for this development is 35%. We're only at 14%, so we're less than half the density that's allowed. So we just want to establish that we're not trying to overbuild this site. We feel they'll be very much in line with the needs of the community directly adjacent to us and also the current traffic that's on Hintz Road. Quite frankly, we look at the existing traffic on the existing roadways, and that's what derives whether this is going to be a good site or not. This is a siphoning type site. As you know, you're sitting on your couch watching the Super Bowl game. You know that your car is a little bit empty, and you don't jump up and say, oh, I got to fill up my car with gas. You fill up your car with gas as you're going to work on the weekdays or coming home from work on the weekdays or on the weekends when you're running your errands. And so it's a siphoning type use here. So it doesn't bring more traffic to the site. It's using the existing traffic. So today, the roadway counts are such that it warrants quite a large investment into this property. As Brian was suggesting, some of the things that Gas and Wash does over and above our competitors, just the little things like this, like the T-shaped canopy coming back, adds a six-figure cost to the cost of the canopy. So these are not slight things. We'll be putting a sound fence along the perimeter of the property lines, as well as we augment with landscaping. Our landscape designs always exceed the requirements. We feel very strongly the landscape and the building design all tie together and make for a very inviting site to enter. Our biggest challenge is to get the existing traffic to come onto our site. So that's why we want to make it look so well. Again, as Brian was saying, this is the C-store itself, just over 8,000 square feet. The liquor portion would be with a separate demising wall, and then the two food vendors, one here and one here, as Brian stated, all supported by the surrounding parking areas. One of the things I do want to emphasize is that the car wash is called an express-style car wash. And that means it's not a full serve where you have a bunch of people vacuuming the cars before and a bunch drying it afterwards. We have the latest and greatest technology so that as the customer makes their selection of the car wash that they wish, they proceed in. This wash chamber here has many arches and racks, and it provides the wash they want. But the key element is right about in this part of the building right here is actually a wall that separates the wash bay from the dry bay. And actually, we heat up that space with solaronic heaters, and it makes the car as bone dry as possible pulling out. You'll also notice that Brian didn't allow for movement directly onto the roadway. We're bringing the traffic back for two reasons. One, our surveys show that 50%, it ranges from 47 to 53%, like to use the vacuums before the wash, and 50% like to use it after the wash. So that's why we bring the traffic back down into this area here. One of the things that Brian also mentioned is that we very strongly separate the auto traffic from the CFL traffic. The CFL traffic that we're looking for are the day runners. This is not a truck stop. This does not have shower facilities. This does not have a laundromat. This does not have a full-serve sit-down restaurant. And as you can see, there are no designated parking for the truck. Basically, the function is they fuel here, they pull up to the stop bar, and then they go in and hopefully buy a sandwich and something to drink and such, but also any issues with the travel desk, they'll settle there as well. So basically what happens, and this is industry standard actually, where the fueling takes about 20 minutes for a larger vehicle like this. They pull up and then they can go in the store. We're looking for this to be like our the lawn care trucks that have the trailers with all the equipment. We want to keep them purposely out of the auto area. We know that our auto customers are key customer. We want them to have a very easy pull in and pull out experience and not have to go around any of the vehicles that are going to be there a little bit longer. Next slide, please. So our buildings are full masonry bearing, full masonry. It's not the thin brick stuff with the thin stone. This is real stone base at the bottom and full 8-inch wide masonry units up above. All four sides are finished the same. And then we have some signage for the actual vendors themselves. We haven't 100% solidified that, but the U-shape vendor will be a donut type facility, whether it be a Dunkin' Donuts or a Do Right Donuts type facility offering great coffee as well. And then the other vendor could be like a taco offering, a Pops, something like that. And so the next slide, please. And again, the car wash is also augmented with full masonry bearing all the way around. And this really helps also in terms of sound deadening and allowing all the sound to stay within the building. As I said, the heating chamber is separate from the wash, but then we also have a speed door that comes down right at the exit side to help contain the noise within the car wash itself. Again, all the vacuum main motors for the vacuums are all inside the building in the equipment room, so they're not exposing noise to the environment. Next slide, please. So this is basically a picture. It's not a rendering. It's an actual photograph of an existing site. You can see that we use LED lighting throughout under the canopy and the yard lights. LED is really fantastic in terms of the light emitting diodes allow you to focus the light exactly where you want it to be. And so it's washing the face of the dispensers and not creating a glare that comes out. And our yard lights are just like that. We again want to be a very positive addition to this community, and we are here to answer any additional questions.
Trustee Papatos, then Trustee Kruger.
Thank you, and thank you for coming to Wheeling. Do you have other sites in Illinois, or are we?
Quite a few, between 25 and 30. We're mostly focused in the Tinley Park and Frankfurt, that type of area. We do have under construction, the furthest north is Green Oaks, and we are looking at Woodridge in that area and such. So we're trying to move north, but this is one of our first steps.
It's hard finding that amount of land, too, at the same point. And this is, as a concept review, more of the 30,000-foot look, so I don't want to get into any details other than to remind you that you would be surrounded by residential apartments, townhomes on one side, and it's not just Wheeling, it's Wheeling and Arlington Heights and, just further down the street. So you mentioned landscaping and fencing to, alleviate the noise and make sure that it does look good for the people who have to look at this on a regular basis. And one thing that the entire board is always concerned about is detention and retention. So, it'll be something that will come up, I'm sure.
One of the things that we'll have in our actual formal package is we have several communities where we're very similar, sharing a property line with residential. And we have actual letters from the mayors in support of the business in terms of what's happened. All these promises are made in these type of meetings, but what really happens when a place is open 1 year from now or 2 years from now? And we have support letters from 6 letters that show the very concerns. We are very much community focused in terms of our hiring policies, in terms of our charitable involvement and such. And so that's very important to us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Papantos. Trustee Kruger, then Trustee Rufato.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you all for coming and considering Wheeling for your new design. I live about a half-mile east of this site, so I know this area very well. It's notoriously soggy, and so I was grateful to hear that you were considering the underground detention. I just wanted to, and I did confirm with staff that our current code is 1.5 acre feet to 1 acre of displaced area, so making sure you're aware of that and abide by that code, so that's great. Noise was my biggest concern, but I was quick to write down that you have some sound barrier and some vegetation sound buffering. I'll be looking forward to seeing what that looks like, considering, like my colleague said, you're surrounded on all 4 sides by residential, and 2 of them are other municipalities. So I just want you to be a good neighbor to, of course, our residents and those that are right next to you. Do you know offhand if your hours of operation would be 24 hours or not for this kind of wash service? I'm thinking about the noise and...
For the car wash, no. Definitely not that. For the C-store, yes, in the sense that, quite frankly, the Dunkin' Donuts people really, the old commercial, I'm sure you remember, Time to Make the Donuts? That is really real. And they're in there very early in the morning preparing the products for sale. And so the dispensers that you're out there, out in the front yard, they're $25,000 to $35,000 a pop. And so just for security purposes and such, and we use the overnight, we're not thinking we're going to make any money overnight. What we use the overnight time is for restocking the shelves, doing the deep cleaning that you can't do during the day, and then also the preparation of the products, both from the donut side, but also the other food vendor side. And then we also have a little food offering out in the middle of the floor.
Very good. Will the existing concrete pads from the previous development be removed?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Great.
Yeah, we'll be actually not only the pads, but we will probably be pulling out the foundations as well, because we'll have a lot of conduit going in and through, and trying to go through foundation walls, it's too hard.
Got it. And bear with me one second. The only other note that I had is that Old Buffalo Grove Road is an old Buffalo Grove Road. And it's, there was recently a pretty severe sewer break that had balled up the traffic on Hintz Road for quite some time. That road, in my 60-year history of living there, it's been patched and resurfaced and resurfaced and patched and then patched some more. I'm just wondering if that Cook County-owned road is also, if there's going to be some consideration about, will that road handle the additional traffic of a pretty robust gas and wash station?
Our engineers have already looked at it very briefly, as, again, this is just concept, but yes, this would have to go through Cook County Department of Transportation and Highway full review for that. We don't anticipate any issues with it, but it is something that we noted that will be checked.
Very good. Well, that was all my questions. Thank you again, and I'm finished. I yield.
Thank you, Trustee Krueger. Trustee Rufato, then Trustee Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. The diesel fueling on the east side, can semis go in there?
We have the design that they can safely do it, but we know that a true full-blown 73 wheelbase semi will not be stopping here. They have their travel accounts with the Petros and the Road Rangers of the world, the travel centers, that, you know, they have accounts already there. This is really for the day runner. I did, when I was on the site, I did see a couple wheelbase 53s going down Hintz Road, and also saw box trucks, and also the landscape with the trailers. And really, that's our intended customer, the day runner that's on that road today, right now.
But there does seem to be a lot of semi-traffic going east to the places along that have the freight there. So that's a concern of mine. Even though you say that it's not intended for that, you have that, and it doesn't seem to me that if you happen to get a semi in there, how they would traverse through your piece of property cleanly. Yeah. That's a concern of mine. And then also you mentioned in the report from staff, there was actually four retail entities, 2 stores, and a convenience store and a liquor store?
Correct.
That's correct. So are we getting into semantics here? I know it's a separate entity, but we don't allow gas stations to sell liquor stores now, liquor now. This is just semantics if we go this path, because it's going to be attached. I assume it's a separate.
Have separate entryways, separate cashiers, separate.
Right.
There won't even be a connection internally.
Right, but you can pump gas, go next door. I mean, you can pay with credit card at your gas at your pump and go into the liquor store. And that to me just seems like if we're going to do this, you know, we should rethink what we're doing for other gas stations, because I don't see a difference in that.
I think that's an excellent point. And to what you said, there is a distinction here in that it is a strip center. So I agree with you that it may be semantics, and I think that's fair. But according to code, it is allowable the way it is drawn, which perhaps is step one that leads us to step two of what you're suggesting, that perhaps this is a larger discussion. Right. But as written, the code does allow for a situation like this to exist.
To add to that, what the code says, Trustee Rufato, is that gas retailers cannot obtain a liquor license. That's what the code currently says.
I understand that.
Right. So if this is a separate business.
Right.
Yeah, so again, it's the will of the board, of course.
Sure.
And we should clarify that if we need to.
Exactly. And then video gaming is allowed in this use?
Yeah, because of the size of the development and the offerings that they have, by definition, the state of Illinois would allow video gaming in the C-store without a pour license.
And it's ironic, because I was driving in Southern Illinois just this past week, and I stopped at a gas station that must have been huge. They weren't selling liquor, but they had gaming, and I couldn't understand it. And now
That's it.
this is it. Those are really my concerns, the diesel and of course the lighting. You do have single family to the south of you and multifamily on all the other sides, and it just seems to me to be a rather intense use, but I'm just one person here, so thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Rufato. Trustee Vogel?
Most of the questions I had were the same that Mr. Rufato had, or Trustee Rufato had, but to elaborate a little bit about the gaming. You said because of the size and the fact that they have the high flow diesel pumps, they're considered a truck stop?
By definition.
By definition, and therefore are allowed to have a gaming license without a pour license?
Correct.
So if we approve this, they don't have to come back to us for a liquor license. They can just go ahead and get their gaming license.
Through the state, yes.
Through the state. Are there any other considerations?
It looks like, hold on.
Are there any other
Considerations that a truck stop has over a regular gas station or convenience store type thing? Are there anything else that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, through our discussions with them, the C-store is going to be more than just going to buy a pack of gum and a bag of chips. It will be basically a mini grocery store. So in essence, we believe it will be filling a food void in this area.
Okay, but again, are there any other considerations that we should look at?
None that,
because they are a fuel center, none that you know of?
None that I'm aware of.
Okay. All right. And I also have a concern, again, about the fact that you don't consider it a truck stop, but the state definition states it is a truck stop. And with that, they can get a gaming license and a liquor license, again, with the gas station. So it's something we have to look at, I think.
Trustee Vito. I'm sorry, Trustee Vogel, are you?
Yes, I'm done.
Trustee
Thank
Vito.
Yeah, so my only concern with this is in terms of, is it going to have enough traffic volume for you? Because I live off of Hintz Road too, not as close as Mary Kruger does, but this is a pretty big station, and that area does not get a lot of traffic. I mean, Hintz Road goes from Rand to Milwaukee, and unless you really live between Buffalo Grove Road and 83, the odds of you going past Hintz Road in this spot are pretty slim. So I don't know if you guys have looked at it to make sure it's going to be viable for this type of use. I would love to have something like this close to my house because I like these things. I go get fountain drinks and beef jerky all the time, but that's besides the point. But I just don't want it to fail, and that's my only concern. I would never not give you approval on that basis. It's your risk. I just want to make sure you guys have looked into that because unless you got a Starbucks, I think even a Dunkin' isn't going to get you the traffic that you need. But that's just my concern. I don't know if you've looked at it.
We certainly do, and the demographics of the area, the traffic counts have all play into account. And you're right, it's a very significant investment. It's a multi-million-dollar investment, and it's taken very seriously, yes.
Thank you, trustee Vito. I have a question. Oh, do you have something?
I'll throw in one since everyone else is jumping in. So retail-wise, you gave up one potential use, a donut place, which, as trustee Vito said, sounds like a very good addition to the area. Do you have any, without naming names, do you have good leads on your other retail?
Very, very much so. We have a hand full of vendors that we use in all our other facilities. We currently have about 3 facilities being under construction right now, and 2 that have just opened in that. And basically Pops and the Taco, Mickey's, and then also the Do-Rights, the Dunkin' Donuts. Those are our go-tos. And then we also have additional that we can expand upon. But usually they want to jump, and they're fighting each other to get into the store.
Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Lang. Trustee Ferrolo, you just got a demotion. You just got a demotion and a pay decrease. Mr. Ferrolo.
Significant.
Yeah. They would not have to come to us for a local liquor license.
They would if the retail store is going to get a liquor license, but as far as the, you're talking about for the
Well,
gas
relative
station?
to the game.
Convenience. Well, the gas station couldn't get a liquor license because the code says you can't.
Okay.
But for gaming, under the Illinois Video Gaming Act, if you are, you have a parcel of 3 acres or more.
Okay.
And you supply 10,000 gallons of diesel fuel per month on average, you're defined as it's the licensed truck terminal.
Okay.
And if you're up to 50,000 gallons of retail fuel per month, you're defined as a large or a licensed large truck terminal or establishment. And if you're either one of those, you qualify for video gaming, a state video gaming license, without a liquor license attached. Normally, you need a pour license,
Sure.
a pouring liquor license, in order to get video gaming. But if you're a truck establishment under the Video Gaming Act, you do not require that. So you don't.
So we would have control. So we would have control at the liquor store. We would not have control in the gas station, but we only would not have control for the slot machines, not liquor.
Well, we license the video gaming terminals locally,
Yeah.
but that really is more of a, if the state allows it at our level,
can't say
we're
no.
not in a position to say no. We're in a position to examine where they're placed so that they comply with the act. But as far as, overriding state approval, home rule authority is preempted in that regard. But make no mistake, the gas station, under our liquor code, as it currently stands, cannot get a liquor license.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood that.
Yep.
You guys are all done?
We are, yes, sir.
Trustees, we're clear? All questions answered? Oh, trustee Rufato?
So you mentioned that you have a number of, and I'm looking at your site right now, actually on Google Maps, you've got a lot on the south side. And I think you mentioned it, that a number of them have the same surroundings,
Yes.
residential?
Shorewood, Tinley Park, and a variety of others, yes.
Okay. So one of the things that might be advantageous if this the concept goes forward is to have overhead views of your other restaurants and what's surrounding them. I think in a couple of other concepts that we've had, they've shown what has been surrounding them. Because I just looked at the one in Glen Oaks, and that's basically industrial, right? So just so they get an idea of what's going on, because you have a lot of sites.
Yes, we would certainly.
Yeah, actually, we have a number of facilities where we put up to residential. Shorewood, Illinois, we have a station that's surrounded on one side by about 200 or 300 homes. Mokina, Illinois, their back property line touches our property line. Tinley Park, Illinois is the same thing. We do, Others, we have residences close because they're the people that use the station. But we do have some that are right border to border. In this particular case, we're actually up to the parking areas to the north and to the east. We are across the street from the single-family residential. But we've, interestingly, Chris indicated correspondence that we've received from a number of mayors. Mokina, Illinois, we have 2 locations. Tinley Park, Illinois, we have 2 locations and a third one in process. New Lenox, we have 3 locations currently operating. City of Joliet, we have 5 locations. And in these cases, Tinley Park and Mokina and New Lenox, the mayors have actually written letters in support of us. And we think that's really great because if they didn't like the product that we were putting out, they never would have allowed us to come through the door for the second one, and in some cases, third ones. So we feel that we've been good neighbors to the communities, and we feel that we will obviously be good neighbors up here in Wheeling.
Thank you.
Just one other thing I wanted to point out before we finish up here. We understand there's environmental issues with the property, and we conducted a phase 1 environmental study on the property about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and it did indicate that there is contamination from a previous dry cleaner for the 3 3/4 acre property that surrounds the existing gas station, and there have been a number of environmental concerns with the gas station. We had our environmental company go out last week and they did borings, a number of borings on site, and we should have the results back. This is for a phase 2 environmental study. We should have the results back in about another 2.5 weeks. We know that there's going to be cleanup involved. We don't know the extent of it at the current time, but we do know that there's going to be cleanup, and hopefully it's something that we can fit within our budget. And when we do get a number on the cleanup, we'd like to come back and talk to the administration here at Wheeling to determine whether or not we would be eligible for a 7A or a 7B or a 7C tax assistance with the Cook County Assessor's Office. But we don't know what we're looking at now in terms of cleanup, but we should have a pretty good indication in a couple of weeks.
One last question.
Trustee Ruffalo.
One last question. Are these franchises or are they corporation?
These are individually owned, but the owner in common is Len McHenry for all of the gas and washes.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
And we do, you know, I was watching before with your public hearing, you were talking about the other facility here in town that had come in for a 6A, I think it was.
6B.
Yeah, 6B. Our typical sales at one of these facilities is around $20 million a year. Typically, it's about 15 in gasoline sales and about 5 between the convenience store and the food services offerings at the site. We hope this will be higher. We don't know. We think it's a good location. There's going to be a lot less diesel fueling here than at other locations because there just aren't that many trucks in the area. But we think it's going to be a great site for automobiles. We think it's going to be great for food services. It's going to be great for the convenience store. And we think it's a super location for the car wash. So with that, we're very encouraged by this site. And hopefully the numbers will come out above and beyond our projections. Thank you.
Trustee Lang.
We can't let you go here. So talking about retail again, you know, look to some of the users that are that we don't have in this area. I just looked up the do-right. There's not a do-right around here, and it looks like that's a real good offering, something that isn't around this area, and it'll probably do really well. So,
yeah, well, you know, obviously we've been in communication with them. We have them in 2 of our locations currently. It's something that we're kind of at a preliminary stage right now. We haven't reached out to figure out exactly who would be in the building. Typically, we have a Dunkin' Donuts or a Do-Right or another coffee facility within the store. And as Chris indicated, we have a Mexican-based taco product, which is very good. We have Pop's roast beef, which is very good. We have others that we've dealt with. But again, it's, we haven't really got to the point where we think we can go out and start entering into leases for tenants.
You want to try and get permission to build first?
Yeah, we'd like to know that we can build it before we go out and secure leases. So.
But I want to challenge you to bring in good places and something different. And
but our staff is constantly working with these vendors, and I think you'll be happy with what we end up with. We want something that's going to be good for the community, and it's going to generate the revenue coming back to us and coming back to the food vendors. So it doesn't make any sense for us to put something in there that doesn't work.
Are we ready? All right. So it's a simple question. It is just yes or no. The question is going to be, is the board in favor of the planned unit development concept for gas and wash? Are you in favor of the planned unit development concept for gas and wash? I'll call it. Trustee Rufato.
No.
Trustee Vogel.
No.
Trustee Kruger.
Yes.
Trustee Papantos.
Yes.
Trustee Lang.
yes.
Trustee Vito.
Yes.
And I am also a yes. 5-2.
Thank you much.
That's
And the next
enough.
step is to go to the Planning and Zoning Commission, is that correct?
These intelligent, highly paid experts will guide you through the process back to us.
We could ask trustee Ferrello.
We could have Trustee Ferrolo do it.
I'd be happy to answer your questions. Planning
Since
Commission.
he's been demoted.
There you go.
Thank you much. Enjoyed. Thank you.
Thank you. Official communications. Trustee Kruger, you're waving.
I am. I just want to do a quick shout out to the fire department for such a great event, St. Baldrick's event at Dirty Nelly's in Palatine on Saturday. It was very well attended. The Highland Drum and Pipe Corps was there. First time new, the Trinity Academy of Irish Dancers were there, which was a new thing. That was great to see. An awesome face painter, which I believe we've already picked off her number and might be using her for other things. I did. Because she was really good. The kids had these great paints on their faces. And of course, Chief McGrail, I would love to hear how we did on our fundraising goals, because there was money flying into that big bucket on the stage every time someone was getting their head shaved, so.
Sure. I heard that they raised over $20,000. And I
Stop.
think the site's still open, so.
Nice.
We
And
might
they
get
are-
more if Dan shaved his beard.
I didn't see him there, I looked for him, he didn't walk in the door at all, no.
Yeah, Chief Stefan and I were,
Yeah, no,
we
it was
weren't
great.
there though, but
And it was great to see it back after the pandemic and stuff, so it just felt like, old home week, it was great.
well, thank you for attending.
You bet.
Thank you, Trustee Kruger.
Oh, I'm sorry, one more thing. Okay. Happy birthday, Pat. Welcome to the 60th.
I don't want to, yeah.
Happy birthday, Pat.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Olive. We have cookies for you. They like you better. Clerk Brady.
Early voting for April 4th consolidated election begins today and will run through April 3rd. Early voting locations can be found at www.cookcountyclerkil.gov. If you do not have access to a computer, please call 847-499-9085 for assistance. In-person and online voter registration has ended. If you have not yet registered to vote, there's still time. Early voting extends to extends the registration period by allowing voters to register and vote until the Monday before the election. If you need to register during early voting, you must bring 2 forms of identification, one with your current address. Residents must immediately cast their ballot after registering to vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk. Trustee Papantos, you had something.
Thank you. I just wanted to wish you a happy birthday. You know, Olive gets all the attention, but she will get her treats. Happy birthday, Pat.
Thank you.
Joe Vito.
That is, oh, Trustee Vito, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I got a few things. All of them are smart-assery. One, I was
Awesome, love it.
put a Marilyn Monroe wig on and give you a happy birthday, Mr. President. I forgot that. Number 2,
There's just so
John.
much that could go wrong with that.
John, be careful if you hire that face painter Mary wanted, because you remember what happened last time you got a face painter. Some things happen. And thirdly, Chief McGrill, is there any significance to 23 and 42? Like, why aren't they just engines 1, 2, and 3 and firehouses 1, 2, and 3?
Because we're part of the Mavis Division, which is a mutual aid box alarm system, and the numbers are sort of laid out. I do think 42 is just flipped because he flipped 24 back in the day. I think I asked Chief McIsaac that. So if you look around, funny you should mention too, because when we do, well, I'll explain later at another date.
Okay.
Yeah, there is significance to it.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
We good?
Yes.
I like the Marilyn Monroe comment.
We still have one little bit of business for the evening. We have the bills to pay for March 2nd through March 15th, 2023. I need a motion for their approval.
So moved.
Trustee Papantos, second.
Second.
Trustee Kruger, roll call, please.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
I'm like, wait, did she go?
Somebody wake her up.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes, we have no executive session this evening, and there's nothing else to do, so I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Lang and Kruger, Rufato and Kruger, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Good night, everybody.
Like he broke it.